The structure of plays can vary widely, but there is a traditional or standard structure. We're going to use this standard structure to help define the terms on page 12 in your textbook. Traditionally, plays start without much happening. It is a normal day in the world of the play. I'm going to represent this situation with a simple horizontal line. During this section of the play, we learn who many of the characters are, where they exist, and their relationships with each other. We learn about events which happened before the start of the play that are important to our understanding of the play. All this information is called exposition. Exposition can happen at any time during a play. For instance, it must happen whenever a new character is introduced, even if this character is introduced late in the play. But the majority of the exposition happens right at the start. Another term to describe this section of the play is stasis. Stasis means a state or condition in which there is no action or progress. In other words, a normal day. Something then intrudes on this stable situation. This is commonly referred to as the point of attack, or the intrusion. It is at this moment that the main character, referred to as the protagonist, makes a decision to fight for something. This is when the action of the play truly starts. Whatever opposes the protagonist, whatever stands in the way of the protagonist getting what they are fighting for, is the antagonist. This is usually a person, but it can be a thing. For purposes of clarity, let's imagine a simple play. The play starts with an old farmer and his beautiful daughter. They work hard but are in debt to the local bank. Living next door to the old farmer is a handsome young farmer. The beautiful daughter and the handsome young farmer are in love with each other, even though neither of them have really spoken of it. Now we know what stasis looks like. Suddenly, the bank manager shows up and tells the old farmer that his bank is going to foreclose on the farm if the old farmer doesn't pay off the loan within 24 hours. The bank manager knows the old farmer has no money and no way of getting it. So the bank manager says he is willing to make the whole mess disappear if the beautiful daughter marries him. This is the point of attack or intrusion. At this point, the young farmer decides to fight for the old farmer and his beautiful daughter with the ultimate dream of winning the beautiful daughter's hand in marriage. The young farmer is therefore the protagonist, or the hero of the play, and what stands in the way of him is the bank manager. The bank manager, therefore, is the antagonist of this play. This fight is represented by this rising line. It relates to the rising action of the play. Along the way, the young farmer runs into many minor crises. These crises are called complications. In our imagined play, these might be the young farmer going to talk to the bank manager, but being thrown out of the bank, or the bank manager sending thugs to beat up the young farmer. The young farmer finding the money to pay off the loan, but the bank manager kidnapping the beautiful daughter and tying her to the train tracks, trying to force her to agree to marry him. Each complication is a setback, but the young farmer continues to fight. This is represented by this rising but jagged line. Finally, there is a scene where the young farmer shoots or scares off the bank manager and saves the beautiful daughter from the rapidly approaching train. This is the moment where the protagonist, the young farmer, gets or doesn't get what he's fighting for. This moment is the climax of the play. In our story, the young farmer has saved the old farmer's farm, and because of this, the beautiful daughter wants to marry him. Let me be clear about this. At the moment of the climax of the play, it doesn't matter whether the protagonist gets what they're fighting for or doesn't get what they're fighting for. What's important is that it is the deciding moment. It isn't just another complication in the play. It is the moment that what he is fighting for or she is fighting for is decided. In most traditional plays, in most Hollywood films, and in most TV shows, the protagonist gets what they're fighting for. In many more interesting plays, many foreign films, the protagonist doesn't get what they're fighting for. Naturally, since I'm a bit of a art-sakist, I like when the protagonist doesn't get what they're fighting for. Now, I don't like complete defeat. What I like is that the protagonist doesn't get what they're fighting for, but realizes they didn't really want it all along. But back to our story. Traditionally, after the climax, the action drops off quickly. This part of the play is normally referred to as the resolution or the denouement. It is during this period that loose plot ends are tied up, and we get a glimpse of what the new stasis looks like. In our imagined play, the farms are going to be combined and everyone is going to live happily ever after. This new stasis is significantly different from the stasis at the beginning of the play. This new stasis could be the start of a new play. This is the format for many sequels. The stasis at the end of Star Wars defines the stasis at the beginning of The Empire Strikes Back. And the stasis at the end of The Empire Strikes Back is the stasis at the beginning of The Return of the Jedi. No, you don't have to watch those films in order to understand this class, but it will probably not be the last time I refer to them. On the lower half of page 12, there are also the terms story and plot. These two terms are often and incorrectly interchanged. Let's use the drawing to help explain them. This drawing represents the entire play that the audience sees. The curtain rises here, and the curtain comes down here. Everything between these 2 points is the plot. Everything the audience sees is the plot. The plot, however, is not the whole story. During the plot, the audience learns about things that happened before the first moment of the play, and they learn about things that happen off stage, out of their view, things that aren't visible to the audience. These elements of the play comprise the story. In our imagined play, we probably learned about what happened to the mother of the beautiful daughter. She may have died many years before. We don't see it happening, so it's part of the story, not part of the plot. We may also learn that the bank manager sent thugs to burn the farmer's crop. We don't see it happening, so it's part of the story. The 2 remaining terms on page 12 are character and theme. We can't really use the drawing to help explain these. But the characters were created to best carry out the plot of the play. The playwright could have created any characters, but he or she felt these characters would best help him tell the plot. The plot of the play was created to best communicate the theme of the play to the audience. The theme being the central idea the playwright has in mind. In our imagined play, the playwright may have been working on the theme of good versus evil, or powerful versus meek, or simply the struggles of mankind in the wild, wild west. It is possible the playwright didn't have a specific theme in mind when they wrote the play, but a theme exists nonetheless, probably more than one. While writing, the subconscious mind asserts the theme even if the playwright's conscious mind doesn't. The playwright Sam Shepard, who won the Pulitzer Prize for his play Buried Child, claims he doesn't write on themes at all. However, if you read 3 or 4 of his plays, you quickly see this simply isn't true. For instance, the themes of the loss of the American dream and the disintegration of the American family are in nearly every one of his works.